right, we are live.
We're live. Excellent. Hey, Dr. Misak here. Welcome back to God's Healing by the Numbers. I want to just again introduce Dr. Darrell Misak. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm a pharmacist. I'm assuming that we probably had the sound off there for a split second.
No, we didn't. We didn't.
Oh, good.
Time. Perfect.
Okay. And so, well, as always, we're trying to just bring something here to you to teach a little bit of truth and just try to expand on what we can share for people to know that health is available to everybody. I always like to start with a verse, and the Bible app just treats me well. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Proverbs 19:21, and I that just really speaks home for me. It's the purpose of finding our purpose in life. Realizing when I got into or became a naturopathic doctor, like, this is me. I mean, this is totally me. Someone who likes to understand how things work and fascination with the human body, and natural medicine is just a wonderful thing to. I don't know what to say except that it moves me. It's one of those things that I just enjoy so much. I don't know how many people are out there yet, but if you're out there, one of the things that we always ask that you do is hit that thumbs up. That thumbs up button is one of the things that we know that can increase the likelihood of getting on these Google and these YouTube things that so we do show up for other people to see. Please share. What we have found, I don't know if Annie was able to get it out on Facebook this morning, or maybe she's able to go and do that now, saying, hey, we're live. But trying to figure out ways to get the information out there, just to get people, to make them aware that they can actually find the show. We have had people report that, they've got the link, and when they emailed the link, that the link didn't work. And so I don't know if that's an issue with what we call shadow banning or whatever the heck it is. But we've also noticed that if people actually search Doc Misak, or just my last name, Misak, on YouTube, that is a way that they can find me still. It's, it won't pre-populate as you're in the search. If you type in your search name, you start putting something, it kind of fills in the options. You will not see me pop up. But if you put the last name Misak, it tends to find my shows and hopefully my channel. And so that way we can share this information and get information out to just lay some hope, some foundation for the possibility of health. It's so many people have understood that natural medicine is, what do I take? And I've had people come in here. I love to tell the story of a guy who came in here with a trash bag. It was one of those, just literally one of the large trash, like a 50-gallon trash bag size or whatever they are, the great big trash bags, half full of supplements. And we just had them all over the table behind me, just laid them out, and I separated them by, these are digestive aids, these are adrenal support, these are immune stimulators, these are antioxidants. I had all these supplements. Literally, he had hundreds of dollars worth of supplements that he would take, and he's like, well, I don't take them all, just kind of go through them and whatever else, but take many of them many days. I take this one because it's good for heart health. I take this one because it's good for circulation. I take this one because it's good for my prostate. It was just a list of why he took all these. And when we got down to it, what we teach and we understand from a standpoint of bioelectric chemistry and Ream's biological theory of ionization, what Dr. Kerry Reams taught. And those of you who are tuning in, you're going to say, who the heck is that? He was a mathematical genius who explained the body and defined electrically or energetically what is perfect. So there's no other source of medical science that you have a standard of perfect. This is what we want. And now we know, and we have a way of measuring to say where you're away from perfect that guides how to move it in that direction. There is no other system of medicine outside what Dr. Kerry Reams created that does that. There are ways of identifying imbalances. There are ways of identifying deficiencies. There are ways of identifying toxicities. There are ways of identifying chronic Lyme and different types of immune burdens and things like that. But there is nothing. If you go to a doctor and says, okay, what's perfect? What is perfect health? How do I know that I am there? They don't have a definition except that you feel good. You're not having symptoms. You have good energy. It's all subjective kind of things. There's no measurable perfect, because even when you go and get these labs done by your doctor, if you are older and you have some labs that were drawn in the 1990s or early 2000, and you look at what was considered normal values, and now you go and have a lab drawn and you look at what's considered normal values, you'll see that those values for norm are based upon a population, so that you're looking at 1 and 2 standard deviations away from the mean of what mostly pops up. And so what is normal today is completely different than what was normal when I was in medical school. And particularly when you're looking at the size of red blood cells and the health and the levels of what's considered normal with white blood cells, and and what's considered anemia versus what used to be considered anemia, and what's considered ideal body weight versus what used to be a calculated ideal body weight. These values keep changing based upon a sick population. Except Kerry Reams. Kerry Reams turned around and said, this is an equation for ideal human biological efficiency, period. And anything away from this equation, you're going to have decreased energy efficiency, period. Mathematically explained. And so if you turn around and say, okay, this is perfect, and now I can measure every single person that comes into my office, or you even better can measure at home and say, well, I'm not perfect. I honestly, I don't want to strive to be perfect. I realize that getting perfect numbers is possible, but I also realize there's no way I will ever achieve that, because the discipline that it takes to achieve perfect numbers with regards to health is beyond me. I do know a person who lived a lifestyle to get all the numbers perfect except one. And it was the last number that would fall in place as you're moving them towards, So when you look at the equation that we talked about, and Dr. Kerry Reams teaches, you have an equation that says a perfect health, bricks 1.5, pHs 6.4 urine over 6.4 saliva, conductivity or your salt level 6.5 C. So your bricks is the potential energy. And you have oxygen maximal oxygen potential at that 1.5. 6.4 over 6.4, those pHs are the efficiency and the resistance or the speed. How is it too fast or too slow? So it's the resistance. And if there's more resistance, things slow down. So that's higher pHs. Lower resistance, lower pHs, things are going too fast. And at 6.4 over 6.4, like, wait a minute, that's not neutral. That's acid, because we are taught in chemistry that 7.0 is a neutral pH. And Kerry Reams says, no, biologically at a pH of 6.4 on an electromagnetic aspect. Wow, who teaches electromagnetics in health? Anybody? No. You can go back and find some people talking about electricity, but not about the magnetism of what we are. And that everything is a shift between positive and negative charges that make up the whole universe. But at a pH, a biological pH of 6.4, your anions or the environment can dictate whether things switch to anionic or cationic, meaning that if it goes a little bit too acid, that environment can cause the body to shift more cationic, meaning going too fast. And if it shifts above 6.4, it can go anionic, meaning going too slow. And so therefore, when you're looking at pH, he's looking at that line of resistance at 6.4, that we have perfect possible maximal energy potential. Same with conductivity. Conductivity is the ability of energy to go from point A to point B, and it dictates the thickness of fluids. Too high, the fluids get too thick. Things become rigid. Cholesterol goes up to try to thin it out. You know, he explained these things on a biological standpoint. So then we get to the cell debris. The next is the cell debris, that 0.04 m. That's how many particles? That's 40,000 particles per gram, per 100 mLs of your urine. And so you should have about 40,000, but most people have 4 million and up. And when we're testing people, in reality, with the numbers and what you're exposed to, you should have at least 4 million particles in this crazy world we're dealing with for cell turnover and your body dealing with stuff. So, and then finally, the last numbers are nitrates, and it's ammonia nitrates over nitrate nitrates over ammonia nitrates. And that dictates protein building capacity versus protein breakdown, and the bottom ones are toxic. He also added common sense in there, and because common sense says, hey, you know what, sugar is the source of all energy, but I don't think eating a 5-pound bag of sugar every week is going to be healthy, right? You know, so we know that what is sugar going to do? It's going to speed things up. It's going to make you acidic. It's going to have a role on your adrenal glands. It's going to cause sugar crashing. It's going to affect oxygen availability. You know, look at diabetics. You know, too much sugar, what happens? You know, they start breaking down in their in their nervous system. They start getting neuropathies. Why is that? Because the sugars are high, salts go high with it. What do salts do? They irritate and break down nerves and smooth muscles. Look at what happens in diabetes and the symptoms that are associated with it. It's high sugar, high conductivity, completely explained by this. So what we do is we have a system that has identified perfect. And the best part about it is that how did God make us? In his own image. Perfect is in every single one of us. But I can tell you, trying to achieve it, drive yourself crazy. You know, it's not worth it. But I sit out here and I look at the aspects of health, and there's all kinds of theories out there from what you're exposed to in the womb affecting you, creating certain diseases later in life because of environmental exposures and affecting your DNA. We look at telomeres. I mean, heck, created a product called Vitalometry. And I encourage people to check it out, vitalometry.com, Vitelometry, you know, and check out Vitalometry, because what we did is, I had an epiphany that, hey, if this is the greatest anti-aging discovery ever with telomeres, what affects telomeres? And I looked at it from a nutritional standpoint to create a product. To me, that's God telling me, hey, here's a way to make some cash flow to achieve some of these desires that we put in, because, you know, man can have his desires, but God outlines the pathway for how that occurs. We've had wonderful stories with it, but telomeres are affected. If you had childhood trauma, guess what? Shortened your telomeres. If you have chronic stress, guess what? Shortened your telomeres. If you eat like crap, guess what? Shortened your telomeres. You know, so it's not in a product, you know. It's been shown that people who meditate and find peace, you know, what does the Bible say? You know, meditate on God's word, you know, think of things that are pure, right, and holy. You know, positive thinking. Guess what research shows? Lengthens your telomeres. You know, so we turn around and we take all this stuff into perspective. You know, God created you to be healthy. He did not make you in his image to find disease. The problem is we're in a fallen world, people, and this world is toxic not only to you spiritually, but it's toxic to you physically. And I don't think that the system that governs the money control of this world has an idea of you being healthy. And so what Kerry Reams did is he explained it mathematically. He explained what is perfect. He showed cause and effect. And what we do is we teach you how to measure that cause and effect and to make some changes in your lifestyle that can have a positive effect on you overall. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch what happens in here, and why we do the approach we do. We're looking at things from an analytical perspective. I've got yesterday's sample of a live blood behind me. Why do we look at the blood? The life of the body is in the blood. Cain killed Abel, and God says his blood calls out to me from the soil. What have you done? Your blood calls out. It cries out. How? Frequency. If you know the frequency, you know the diet, said Carrie Reams, And so everything breaks down to electrical frequency. And Reams, he explained your frequency, and the frequency, the ideal frequency is based upon the speed. If you look at frequency waves, you have these really fast ones. So if you're active and going like my brain is right now, you got to speak real talk, or see, I can't even try to say it right, but you talk real fast. You got to go, versus let's meditate. And all of a sudden you go into alpha and theta and delta when you're sleeping. You're slowing down the frequency. Well, which one of those values on that perfect equation dictates the frequency? If frequency is basically the speed of a wavelength, what are we looking at? pH. Wow. The pH miracle book. Control your pH and everything will heal. It's a piece of the equation, but it's not the full answer. So what we're looking is trying to show you a big picture so you can understand, hey, if I look at that pH is telling me how, if I'm on frequency and whether things are moving too fast, too slow, and how I'm doing. It's just it's a wonderful system, people. And Annie, I'm just letting you back there chill and kind of get into a meditative state because I'm just rambling today.
Yes.
And so, how are you doing today?
Oh,
So I can take a drink of my coffee.
I'm doing well. I need to get more water.
You're having water. I'm having coffee. Guess what coffee does? Increases telomere length. Did you know that?
No way.
There's studies that actually show that caffeinated coffee actually can have a positive effect on the length of telomeres. So it's so you're looking at diet, studied all these other type of things. It's fascinating stuff, but I'm not going to turn around and tell you drink your coffee, particularly if you have type O blood. There seems to be issues with that, but so Annie, we've gone through. We were telling people last week that we were going to have some values for them. Yeah, you want to hold those up again?
Do you want them?
Do I want them? I'll take them. Yeah, by all means. Okay. So one of the things that we've done, we've had Annie go through some aspects of series of colonics and series of just detoxification and just kind of going through trying to get on track. Thank you, ma'am. And we did a little bit, those other numbers that were below that perfect equation were Annie's numbers on certain days while she was going through fasting. And so we fasted Annie. We let her drink goop. We had her drinking clay and fiber and just enough calories to get through the day with some apple juice, which has malic acid in it. And then that malic acid turns around and actually there's some benefits with malic acid other than softening gallbladder stones, but that's one reason we do. But it softens gallstones, and at the end of this, we had her do a gallbladder flush, and she was doing colonics every day for 14 days. Wow, yeah. And so we just did this whole kind of reset of her chemistry and things like that, and you want to expand on just the experience and things like that for you.
The experience, it was good. I don't know. It's a good way to start the year. I think it's a big cleanse. It's not just a physical thing; it's emotional. So I think it was wonderful. I feel great. My pain is still there, of course, but I didn't realize how much belly pain I had that was unexplained. I don't know. I guess I tend to ignore pain before I identify it first, but I feel a lot different. I feel a lot lighter, and I think I should, given everything that we did.
I figured you say everything that came out of you, and then we'd start discussing that as well.
It's always what you want. No. I think the
I,
normal things came out of me. I don't know.
we're never going to see those colonic intake videos, are we?
Nope, nope. I mean, you're doing colonics now. You could take some photos, I guess. You could
Yeah,
share.
I've actually thought about that and
Uh-huh.
setting up the camera and being on the table. Say
There you go.
hi.
See,
Guess what was?
everybody tell him no, or he'll do it.
I don't see the chat, so I don't
Oh
know if
yeah.
you have the chat today. If anybody's out there chatting, saying hello, or anybody that you want to bring to the air, or anything like that.
Everybody's saying good morning, thanks for the show. You know, no questions yet, but I will bring you my phone so you can keep up.
Okay, so so we always like to look and see if there's anything specific that you want to bring to the year. I think there was something last week that I, at the end of the show or afterwards, that somebody had chatted about, and I don't remember the specific question. I don't know do you remember what that was?
Oh,
If,
no, but I can probably look. Let me go jump on another machine and I'll get it.
yeah, there was a question at the very end of the show afterwards in the chat box, and somebody had a specific question in regards to, I believe it was your daughter or something like that. And so I'm going to encourage you people. I mean, I really want to make this for you. I'd like to figure out a way to actually make this a call-in show. I know some people have used a system called Discord, and then Discord they go, and in Discord you could project and put what is being spoken over the airlines and just kind of pull that into our broadcasting, and then we turn around and be able to answer questions. I have not figured out how to do that. Or how to set all that up, and there's a lot involved, So right now we're just using it as a forum, but the chat gives us that ability for you to kind of bring those questions here, and there's always, if there's something specific, I'll talk to you about it. And the one thing you have to understand, though, is you're going to hear a lot of repetition that says, I don't know, go by the numbers. You got to go back and have some type of measurable value or some type of uh, um, way to say, I'm going to go back to analytics. I've had questions about the thyroid, and I'm going to say, well, you have to know what's imbalance in order to know how to correct it. I've had questions about adrenal support, and you have to know what's imbalanced in order. There are patterns that we see in those numbers. With the thyroid, we see pHs between about 6.8 to about 7.1. We see the nitrates, fall below 14, and adding them up, usually below 12. In adrenal stress, we tend to see the conductivity gets a little bit elevated overall. So there's that irritation to the nerves. We see the pHs separate out. We see poor sugar regulation. Sometimes we see, I've talked about detox patterns where you start seeing, we talk about energy in and energy out in that equation, how you can tell if somebody is building energy or if they're eliminating too much. And when people start detoxing, that's when we start saying, okay, it's time to support it. It's time to use sauna and foot baths and other things to stimulate this to kind of repair. When we see the sugar regulation out, we talk about how to support it. And because of poor oxygenation, depending on what's going on, we could turn around and tell you to get in a hyperbaric chamber or meditate and deep breathing techniques, Buteyko method, or Wim Hof, learning his breathing techniques. Or there are ways to improve oxygenation. And so other than taking a supplement. So there are so many people out there who just see natural medicine as replacing drugs for my condition. I have this X disease. And then they're waiting for somebody to say, please take this, to fix it. And it has nothing to, I have people come into my office and they are taking all of this stuff, for thyroid and adrenal support. And then they walk out of my office on calcium, iodine, potassium, selenium, zinc, magnesium, maybe some B6, B12, folic acid, maybe a probiotic, maybe some vitamin C or D. And they're like, this is it? I mean, I could take a multivitamin that has all this but different values. And I'm like, don't, because everything that's in that multi is going to affect energy. Some of it's going to look like salt's going up. Some of it's going to possibly react negatively, and that could drive up your salts. Some of it is going to affect, so we don't know the energetics of what that's going to occur. But when I'm looking at that equation, I'm like, I know you're eating something that you shouldn't. I know that your liver is stressed. I know that your kidneys are stressed. I know that your pancreas is not functioning appropriately. I know that you're not able to take food and convert it into energy efficiently. I know that you are not digesting stuff, and that because of that, you're going to start putrefying things in your digestive tract, and you're going to have overgrowth of bacteria or parasites or yeast. Because it's cause and effect. We can look at those numbers and explain cause and effect. And so some of the numbers as we go through, like Annie's numbers when she started out, we go here and as we look, Annie, I don't have the numbers that we did before we started the fasting. We have all the days of the fasting.
Days after, yeah.
Yeah, but what happened is like when Annie started fasting, her sugars and pH, boom, they start going down. And typically what you see is the nitrates go down. So Annie's sugars on day 2 were 0.6. Day 3, she did okay. They were 1.4. Day 4, they were 3. Day 5, on her bad day, day 5, 6, and 7, they crashed to 0.9. So but if you start looking at the other numbers, the pHs went from 6.18, and I'm going to do urine pH because that's the overall pH. So we said 6.18 down to 6.11, down to 5.91, down to 5.83. And before she started coming out of it, then it came up 6.16 to 6.31, and then it started diving back down as she started detoxing again. And we turned around, and that's when we started support. It started giving her some minerals. But, what we wanted to do, and Annie, we forgot the spreadsheet with all the numbers to kind of present them out on that. So that happens, right? And
yes.
So, but what we wanted to do was just present them and just kind of go over and discuss them all. But the biggest one was when Annie did the gallbladder flush. The morning of the gallbladder flush on day 14, you expect, hey, after 14 days of all this stuff, I should be doing great. What happened was that gallbladder flush protocol, her sugars went up to 7.6. Her pH dove down to 5.14. The liver, however, the liver pH, not the bricks, but the saliva pH went to exactly 6.40. What's that? The liver is trying to correct. Okay. Her salts were at 43.9. Her cell debris was triple plus, just clouded funk came out of her. Her nitrates were 8/12. Just massive amount of dumping. And then on her urinary analysis, she had positive white blood cells, positive urobilinogen, positive protein, positive blood, positive ketones, positive bilirubin. That's a liver dump, people. Just totally dumped all this crap out. And today, all we had to do was all I had time to do was run the first 5 numbers really quick. Did you have something you wanted to say?
That was one of the questions from last week. What's the difference between a gallbladder flush and a liver flush?
It's the same thing. It's basically you're doing the same thing. There are herbs that you can take consistently to stimulate the liver. There are herbs that you can incorporate into your lifestyle and foods, artichokes, radishes, beets. Annie.
They're delicious.
We were talking about this morning, and I hate beets. I've tried them in so many ways, and I cannot find a way that I like beets. And Andy's like, oh my God, eggs with beets and pickles and feta cheese are just awesome.
Just slice them up and boil them and eat them. They're delicious.
And I'm like, sounds like you're eating pregnancy food every day.
Don't say that. No.
But today, Annie, we just ran her first 5 numbers while we're trying to get the show going, and her sugars were 1.5. Excellent. But salts are 15. She's dumping salt still. Don't know why, or you ate some sea salt.
Oh.
Her pH
Hmm.
dove down to 5.73 again. So we have to revisit how much vitamin D are you taking. We have to revisit whether we add a little bit of Cal-2, because all we gave her so far was a little bit of Mincol. Her saliva pH went up to 6.65. So the liver's slowing down a little bit to process things. And her cell debris is back at a 2+. So the question is long term, what are we dealing with on that level? Are we, and overall, when we're looking at the whole picture with you, Annie, is, what's the goal here? Is like, how can we help you find some pain control?
Mm-hmm.
So energy wise and focus wise and general health, I'm assuming that going through this, there's been a change of improvement.
Oh yeah, I feel a lot different. But I still have the cycle going. I haven't, been able to break out of that, but I am sleeping better, which is huge. Usually I don't sleep more than a couple hours before I'm up. Just rolling around, I guess, wakes me up. But yeah, I'm sleeping through the night, so that's a huge thing.
Good.
I'm able to do a little bit of yoga too. I'm able to, well, what I would call yoga, I'm able to at least just attempt to stretch all of my whole body, and usually that's not the case.
Another thing, when you're looking at telomeres and longevity, stretching improves it. Sleep improves it. So there's a huge factor with telomere length and lifestyle. And so when we're looking at the aspects of a naturopathic lifestyle, I don't know if you're able to pull up on my website, on the very front page of my website, it says life is governed by a set of principles, I believe. I made this quote like, I don't know, 20 years ago. And when we were in this, life is governed by a set of principles. And when we honor those principles with the lifestyle choices that we make, you improve upon health. And so when you're looking at understanding telomeres, that's what it's all about, is lifestyle, is looking at environmental toxins. There are certain environmental toxins that are known to increase or decrease telomerase activity. But there's also environmental toxins like PCBs and dioxins that increase telomerase activity, which is interesting because some of the fears in telomerase activity is that it increases the telomerase activity of cancer cells and makes cancer cells be able to survive. And so that's where we're trying to look at that. I'm going to go back and answer some of these questions that are on the chat this morning. And good morning, everybody. I see where you're saying that. Charlie, where is the May retreat? We're going to be doing retreats in Pittsburgh until otherwise noted. We're trying to just establish a consistency. We have found a place. The problem with doing retreats in remote areas is that, what do we have for cooking equipment? What do we have for, how do we transport all the testing equipment? It's just better for us to have a home place, a home area to do the retreats. And that's the goal of building and buying land and creating a foundational place for retreats. I asked the difference between the liver and gallbladder flush, and there isn't one. We do the same thing. There are people who say, well, I don't have a gallbladder. You can get stones in your liver. Ironically enough, I've had people who have shown spots on their liver with a CT scan or an ultrasound. And the doctors are like, we got to, I don't know if this is cancer. I don't know what this is. And then after liver gallbladder flushes, guess what? Spots have gone away. So more than likely they were calcium oxalate stones or something that were just stuck in there. And that were showing up, and then you flushed them out with the flush. Leah, Diddy, do you use the same equipment to test the bricks of your garden as you would test your own bricks? Yes, you totally do. The ideal is is people who get the electronic refractometers, because electronic refractometers go from like a 0 to an 80 bricks. And in reality, the urine that you're testing at home for yourself, you only need a 0 to 10 bricks refractometer, because if your bricks is above 10, you're probably not alive. It should not be going that high. And so, and when you get the handheld refractometers that have the scale of 0 to 32, it's really hard to get the finite aspects. And am I like between 1 and 2 or somewhere between? It's just the scale that's in there doesn't give you a clear reading. So a 0 to 10 bricks, you can kind of make out, hey, I'm somewhere between 1 and 2. Let's give me a 1.5, or the scale that's on there visually can be made out to where you are. But an electronic refractometer is like a 0 to 80 bricks. And some of the highest bricks I've ever heard with food is in the 30s, because most foods, if you're getting above 15 to 17, is considered excellent. Just loaded with mineral supply, and basically you just squeeze the juice out of the food and test it on the refractometer. Measures total dissolved solids, and Kerry Reams basically showed that the higher the bricks, the higher the sugar content, and the higher the sugar and bricks content, the higher the mineral content. And so the higher the mineral content, the better the food is for you. And so, and the better the plant is, the health of the plant, the stability of the plant, the drought resistant, bug resistant, storage capacity. The plants don't rot when you pick them. You know, the fruit doesn't rot immediately. So bricks is amazing for how that kind of helps. Let's see here. What RBTI ranges are most people in who do home testing? That it varies, but in reality, you typically find people on a first time coming in with chronic complaints. They're in the D&E range, where you're running somewhere between 4 to 50% energy efficient. And we do have some people who are in the BC range, but that's because they have high sugars, high pHs, and high nitrates. You know, but they're typically eating foods that they're bad for their body all the time, and they're younger, and because the younger population tends to handle that stress a little bit better than we see the older population. As people have done it for longer periods of time, those pHs start dropping out, and you start seeing sugar crashing and going into the D&E range. What we're currently working on is breaking down that prominent calcium foods chart and creating it in a food chart, a usable handout, that instead of having to hunt down alkaline or acid or alkaline acid foods, that you turn around and just have, these are acid forming, and these are the calciums that are in them. These are neutral, and these are the calciums that are in them, and these are more acid forming, and these are the calciums that are in them, and breaking them down into food categories for you. Number one. And number two is creating B&E range diet recipes and D&E range diet recipes, so people can turn around, and if they're on if their chemistry is in that D&E range, just give more clear guidelines that break it out of ideas with food and make it more practical for people and easy to understand stuff, and where you're not having to, what's this really saying, going through the information. So we're working on some really interesting stuff here. Red Label, do you have CBD cream salves and foot bath additives for sale? Yeah, we do have. I have a hemp oil, and we've talked about that, a CBD. A lot of times you're going to find that they're moving away from the term CBD in these creams and lotions, and they're just calling it hemp. And why is that? That's because the drug companies got involved, and they started patenting cannabinoids, CBDs. And so now the FDA is trying to associate the term CBD with a drug term. And so therefore these companies have to remove the concentration of CBDs, and which really dictated the level of quality in some capacity of how they were, extracting and what they were getting as far as active constituents. And they're just calling it hemp. And I've used Flora Sophia botanicals, and particularly people who are in chronic debilitating aspects. And there is some studies, where these high amounts of CBDs can be quite beneficial with cancer, post-traumatic stress, anxiety, these type of things. And I use Flora Sophia because if you start pricing out CBDs, and if they're still calling it CBD oil, you'll see that when they're putting about 300 milligrams in a 1 ounce bottle, it's going to run you about $50. When they're putting about 500 to 600 milligrams, it's running about $80 to $90. Okay, the one we sell is $120. Why? Because it has 2,100 milligrams of CBDs in it. So meaning that when you're looking at dosage, where those 500 to 600 milligram $90 bottles, you have to do about 30 drops of that oil in order to get that 50 milligram dose. Whereas ours, you're only doing 5 to 10 drops, and some people can get by on 3 to 5 drops. And they can start for this low-grade anxiety 3 to 5 drops twice a day, and it works. And so that 1 ml bottle of 2,100 milligrams is going to last for $120 a lot longer, because 20 drops is an ml. So if you're only doing 10 drops a day, you're looking at a 2-month supply for $120 versus using 30 mLs, which is a little over, or 30 drops, which is a little over ml, and going through a bottle of that $90 bottle in about 10 to 15 days or less. So you can see the difference of why I choose what I do. And it comes with an organic standard of the Oregon Tide standards, not these new watered down standards, Oregon Tide standards, and a certification sheet with every time he does a batch. It says, hey, here is the independent analysis of what this has. Keep it at your office in case somebody wants to know what you're actually selling them. So I use Flora Sophia. If you are actually like a chronic patient, and you are dealing with cancer and stuff like that, I tell you, just go to Flora Sophia's website, and they have what's called a chronic care package. It's $450, but you're getting over 14,500 milligrams of CBD. And if I prefer if you called them to order it and say, hey, Dr. Misak from Pittsburgh Alternative Health, or Dr. Misak told me to order this. He doesn't give me a discount, but what he does do is send me a little bottle when I make my regular orders, and then that's how he reimburses me, by giving me an extra bottle of product if you buy that. But you will find that $450 purchase, if you were to turn around and try to buy that otherwise, that's a wholesale price. You would find that to piece that many milligrams together, think about it, $90 for 600 milligrams. How many times you're looking at, how many bottles at 90? You're looking at a $2,000 kind of investment to be the same amount of total amount of active ingredient when you're looking at that. So with regard, and then I have found a company at our office that we sell for the cream that is in a liposomal carrier base that is immediate kind of absorption. So you could turn around, and I've had one in my office that I keep open, and if people have sore joints on their knees, or I'll give them a squirt and say, here, put that on there. And 3 to 5 minutes later, they're like, oh my God, I already feel the difference. So it's really good stuff. I think it's $80 for the topical. What's that, Annie?
It works. It absolutely works. I use it all the time.
It is. It's good stuff.
It's a daily thing for me.
Charlie, Badeau recommends lots of various calciums. Is that a good approach for the right calcium balance? There's a book out there called Death by Calcium, and it's founded on poor science. They're going based upon hair analysis and showing that people who have high amounts of hair calcium are potentially calcifying in their body and causing chronic illness. And a lot of medical doctors, the medical profession, has accepted this value, and they turn around and have decreased telling people to take calcium supplements. But if you learn and understand RBTI, calcium is the regulator, particularly of pH. And in some cases, if you follow Badeau's, he can have you take 4,000 or 5,000 milligrams of calcium in a day. I would never, ever, ever, ever do that. I have seen people have kidney stones. I have seen women have abortions from practitioners who are practicing RBTI by giving these massive amounts. and I would not do that. This is telling me that my internet connection is unstable. If something happens, Annie, let me.
Yeah, it's recovering.
Looks like I'm doing okay. So
Yeah.
if something happens where I'm going in or out, let me know. Um, so I do not recommend that. And we have had, I don't know up on the RBTI world, but something really sad has happened this month. Um, there was only 2 people known to have completed of Dr. Kerry Reams's uh, classes that were still alive, and they both passed away this month. Dr. who has written the books that I tell you to go back as the kind of the RBTI Bible or textbook per se. Dr. Badeau passed away mid January. I think it was January. It was either the 10th or 13th. I believe he was 75 years old. And Bob Pike, who from Pike Agri Labs, he passed away at the age of 87. How they passed, particularly Dr. Badeau. I saw Dr. Badeau this past summer. I talked with him prior to a retreat that we had out in Kashmir. And it was an interesting conversation, to say the least. And I was surprised that I noticed that he didn't look healthy, but I never would have expected him to have died years since I've seen him. And so that is just a hard, I don't know, it's a tragedy to the RBTI world, and I just hope that I can somehow, bring something to the plate on the level that Dr. Badeau has offered over the years. Let me go back to this. Zoltan had thyroid removed. Doc lowered thyroid med until I crashed to 77 micrograms. Went to an endocrinology doc who increased the med. Blood test not accurate. Is it possible to figure out and correct levels at 100 micrograms now? Well, welcome to the world of chasing numbers. When you're looking at, once you've removed your thyroid, unfortunately, you're going to need some thyroid medication to help support that. In reality, I would tell you not to use just straight T4 synthetic thyroid. Which is what they're going to give you. They're giving you probably Synthroid or a version thereof. I would have you go to a compounding pharmacist, not that because I used to be one, but because there's a ratio of T4 to T3 that your body needs. And that's why people historically were using Armour thyroid, which is from a pig. But you can get a bovine source of thyroid compounded to give you an amount of T4 and an amount to kind of help stabilize that. Also, if they didn't remove your whole thyroid, lo and behold, you may want to know that your thyroid will still try to produce a little bit of thyroid hormone. And guess what? You can see the thyroid, any type of tissue, start regrowing itself back over years of support, where the medical say, oh my God, you have a thyroid tumor because something is growing there. And it could have been because they didn't remove the whole set of tissue. And what's there is trying to regrow if you're actually supporting it to do so. And I have seen people who've had, quote, their thyroid removed to where they have a little bit of thyroid left and there is thyroid being produced, but not enough to where they don't need to. But you can, if you're going to take something, you can do New Zealand glandulars. You need selenium. You need zinc. You need tyrosine and phenylalanine are precursors for making thyroid. It all depends. You turn around and say, is there a way to do it? Yeah, you have to use analytics. You have to measure. If you have had your thyroid removed, I guarantee you've had stress and you have issues. There's no doubt in my mind that would be part of it, because that just goes along. trying various types of aspects. There's my Drew. Let's see where we can go from here. Zoltan, I'm going to tell you, learn RBTI and, get your numbers checked, start balancing that chemistry value.
Your signal is
and then
lagging.
Yeah. Okay. What happened was for some reason my computer just switched what connection I was using. Now I switched back, and now it looks like I'm okay. So are you doing okay, Annie, on that end?
Yep. We're back on. It's fine.
Okay. I don't know why it just switched. So anyway, thanks for replying. You're welcome. In the chronology, change the level according to body weight. You don't change your level based on body weight. It just doesn't work that way. You have to when you create stability in your chemistry, the values of what your body and these organ systems will stabilize. And so when you see that kind of stability, you're going to see when the chemistry stabilizes, the ability of what the body still has will show in that chemistry, and then you'll be able to level and stabilize the rest of that chemistry through using medicine. But unfortunately, you're going to need some type of hormone therapy, but you can modify what you need by supporting what your body is doing, a little bit of selenium and those type of nutrients as well. Diana, would an Epsom salt bath be okay for joint pain? Heck yeah. Epsom salt baths are basically using massive amounts of magnesium to relax the blood vessels and stimulate circulation. They help to detoxify the body, particularly if you put a little bit of baking soda in there. So when I'm doing Epsom salt baths, I put 1 cup of baking soda and 2 cups of Epsom salts. And in a hot bath, don't do it more than 20 minutes and get out slow, people. That bath will relax the blood vessels. And if you get up really, really fast, if those blood vessels are still too dilated and not ready to constrict, that change in pressure, you can black out, and you don't need to be blacking out and finding yourself waking up in a bathtub. So, but go slow. But Epsom salt baths are wonderful. I'll sometimes have people do them, 3 to 5 times a week in some cases. Particularly people who have heart stress, people who have high nitrates, they're not detoxifying well. Epsom salt baths are wonderful. Flora Sophia runs great sales often. They do. They really do. And they're an outstanding company. I encourage you to, if you're getting CBD oil, Flora Sophia is high quality, people. Linda, patents have been weaponized by scam lawyers. I hope at POTUS, good guys are working on that. And I do too. President of the United States is what that's referring to. They're trying to limit him. And, we hear things coming down the pipe where Trump, I don't want to go into the politics of it. I think Trump has made some great decisions from a standpoint of being a president and running a country from a business perspective. But I in some cases, I hate Trump from an attitude of how he presents himself. If you have somebody with the personality of Pence, but the abilities of what Trump goes, I think that's great. But Trump is fighting a war, on levels of what we see in movies, and I really don't want to go into it. I would give him a thumbs up from a standpoint of what he's accomplishing, but a thumbs down on how he approaches it at times. But that's my 2 cents worth of it. Stay out of politics, people. It's not worth it. I have been taking calcium, Linda, citrate for about a year. My teeth have improved a lot. Previously, the lower portion was actually transparent, but they have filled with solid white now. Yeah, you could, men call is important too. If you're requiring, if calcium citrate's working, then you probably tend to be acidic, which most people are, Linda. And so what we try to do is I use calcium citrate. I have people who come in here, their pH is 5.3, 5.4, and they're taking calcium, Cal plus D, which is usually calcium carbonate, sometimes calcium citrate. I'll say stay on it. Take 1-2 a day, but I'm going to give you these calciums in addition because you need some calcium phosphate. You might need a little bit of calcium gluconate. You might need calcium or vitamin D and more of it. So, I had a lady follow up yesterday with who's had breast cancer, and it's taken 6 months for her calcium utilization and her vitamin D, giving her 15,000 units of vitamin D a day for months. And calcium, probably I've probably given her about 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of calcium a day before she finally, looking at her numbers, I'm like, wow, you're finally falling into range. With the stress that she's had on her body, she's been feeling great. But now it's an aspect of, okay, let's get these potential tumors to shrink. The tumor markers are, hopefully we're going to retest those, and that's what I tend to see is these markers and everything go away and go down first. But the aspects of the tumor softening, shrinking, these things go away. It takes time, people, a lot of time. Mary just woke up from being up for 5 hours from coughing. Had this crud for 2 weeks, won't go away. Missed the show. Sorry, I missed most of the show. We'll go back and watch from the beginning. Thank you, Mary. I'm going to tell you, there's a place for drugs. And Delsum, DELSUM, is dextromethorphan in a long-acting, slow-acting form. Unfortunately, it does have sucralose or some, I think it has sucralose or some type of artificial sweetener in it, which is crap. And there's always crap put in there. But if you're coughing, take Delsum. If you can't breathe, and your nostrils are so clogged, you have to talk like this, and you can't breathe and sleep at all. Afrin nasal spray. Don't do the 2 sprays up each nostril. Do 1 spray in 1 nostril, because your brain works that if one side dilates, it's going to equilibrate. 1 puff, and that'll get you through the night, and you'll breathe. Delsum, before you go to bed, that dextromethorphan is the mirror image of morphine, and it shuts out the cough reflex. You will sleep and you won't cough, but it doesn't mean take it all day long. There is a place for suppressive medicine, but as you suppress things, you're not curing it. You're helping your body in the case of need, because rest is more important than cough, right? What do you think, Annie?
Yes, agreed.
Is there some common sense here? I want you. I'm a pharmacist, people. I was taught, what to take in every scenario, and if you have a steel rod going through you, don't take a homeopathic. Go get morphine and surgery done. There's just some common sense as far as the limitations of what we can do with natural medicine. But after you've had that surgery, guess what? We can help you typically restore and recuperate a heck of a lot faster than taking steroids and the crap in the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for months to restore that pain. Annie, are there natural things that can help you control chronic pain?
Oh, absolutely. Everything. That acupressure mat is transformative. Gives you a whole reset.
Oh yeah.
It's all lifestyle. When you have chronic pain, my life is drastically different. It's all geared around my pain, but my life is better because of that. I live a better lifestyle.
Yeah, it is a lifestyle. I mean, we talked about telomeres and telomere length and all this stuff. It is lifestyle. Let's see, Charlie, our past retreat participants welcome to come and volunteer in the kitchen. If interested, we only have like 1 or 2 slots, and that is not my choice. That is the choice of the cook. Mm-hmm. And what happens is we have people who put out the volunteer. There are some people who came to some of the earlier retreats, in Kashmir and stuff like that, and they are, and she's going to give a priority based upon that type of thing. Is there something going? Let's see. Anything else? Thoughts on? I could say M&Ms. It's MMS, but EK Patriot. Yeah, you're looking at something that's an oxidative potential and using oxidation-based therapy and antimicrobials, and that is something that we could talk about. Oxygen levels. Mary Seeley, is it liquid or a pill? The Delsum is a liquid. It's in this nice orange bottle, like it says 8 hour on it or something like that, or 24, I can't remember, but it'll stop your cough. Don't do it during the day. Use what really works is some chamomile tea, good bit of honey, and a shot of whiskey. But you didn't hear that from me. And that'll help get you through the day. Dr. Misak, thank you very much. I've been taking vitalometry for 9 months. Brain works better. Notice it at work, calculating stuff. Anyone you could recommend in San Francisco Bay Area? No, we're working on that with the retreats. We're working on developing the coalition, and the Health Coalition is what's going to manage this retreat. People, I can't believe, oh my God, it's 11:07. We have done an hour already. And it feels like we're just getting started, but we got a lot going on today. We're recording some stuff and got a lot of exciting things. So I do have to go. I thank you for tuning in. I hope that it's been informative. Annie, we're going to hold you to getting those numbers on some type of spreadsheet so we can keep going back and reviewing this type of thing. Keep putting in the chat the things that you want to learn about. And again, May 27th to 31st. If you are interested in attending a level 1 retreat, this is a level 1, learning how to run your numbers. I'm going to tell you, you will want to purchase your own testing equipment and these type of things. But learning level 1 is important. Email office@pittsburghalternativehealth.com and put retreat, and we will keep you informed of the retreat. If you've ever attended a retreat, you're already on the mailing list. And we're going to keep mentioning it from week to week. We got to go. I think it's been great. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.